Renee, it's Annette. And today I just wanted to have a short chat with you about why are some of the reasons why people don't report that they're being abused? Why is there such a silence?
Mm.
Now, I know both you and I have been abused, but as well, we worked with so many who are in abusive situations right now and or have come from it, and they have struggled with that silence. And the number one and two, I would say at the top, are fear and shame.
Yeah.
But there's so many other reasons in there, and those who haven't been abused wonder why. I get asked a lot, well, why haven't they said anything? Why didn't they do anything? Almost to the point where if they were to say that to the victim, they feel like they're being blamed.
Yeah.
Why didn't you get up and leave? Why didn't you run away? You know, all those types of situations. What is one that comes to your mind real quick when I bring that up as to your silence?
Well, it was fear, it was shame, embarrassment. That ties in with the shame. The probably threat, feeling threatened, because there was, I mean, if I'm remembering right, it was, don't tell your mom, it'll hurt her.
Oh.
So there was this underlying, and that wasn't a word that was used like every week, but it was something that was definitely said to me, and it was an underlying current. I think that motivated how I acted and if I told her or not. I mean, I even tried running away and chose not to. I wanted to run away because I was tired of it happening to me, but I chose not to. I stopped in my steps and backed up because I didn't want to hurt my mom. I didn't want to see my mom and my family in pain. So I stayed silent. And I thought if I ran away, the truth would come out, and I didn't want to hurt anybody, though I was the one getting hurt. But I guess I was too young to realize. I see now the trajectory of what that choice could have done. And as I got older, I still stayed silent because of that. I felt a responsibility to not rock the boat in my family, to not bring, it still goes back to fear and shame, to not bring shame upon my family, to not let us be seen different in the community, to not let the person doing it to me be seen different. What are the losses that he would gain if people knew?
Interesting how you were trying to protect him.
Yeah. And I was the victim.
Right.
What about you? Is there anything else that comes to mind about this for you?
Mine was along the lines of not being believed. So after it had happened the first time, not being believed, but also being shamed, as in, how can you even talk about something like this? Why would you even bring it up? And that was, I guess I was about 4 or 5 years old at that time. And then again, when it happened later in life, I brought it up when the memories came back. I brought it up to a school teacher. Because the subject had come up in our class about being molested and this and that, and it just brought up all sorts of memories. So I stepped forward and wrote a letter to my teacher of that class and said, I need help with this. And nothing, no response. And then I was asked a few weeks later after the letter, and boy, I was just all upset that I even told this person, and then this person doesn't say anything. Every single time I go to school, we go to class, we leave class, not talking to me about it. And then about 2 weeks goes by, and she asked me to stay after class. I really like this teacher. I thought she would understand and everything. And she said, I got your letter, and I just want to let you know I did get it. I think you need to go ahead and talk with your parents about this. And it was like, that was it.
Wow.
And I already had done that, and I wasn't believed. So that situation just didn't work out that way. So yeah, it really tough in that way. But I've heard that from many people. They just weren't believed. It was too far-fetched. the story didn't sound true, and how could something like that happen to you, and that type of thing. So
I'm
that's
sorry that happened.
one of the reasons.
Another reason that comes to mind is speaking with a gentleman, and this is not just his story, but it's many people's stories, is they stay silent because they believe they're protecting others who could be abused.
Yes.
I was speaking with a gentleman, he had said that a sibling would be approached, by his abuser, and he would always jump in, basically, sacrifice himself so that the other would not receive it. And that's so heavy. It's so heavy in this realm where one will jump in to protect the others, but little do we know it's still happening to them. It's still happening to others, and we didn't know until we brought it to the light, until that person was confronted, and it was brought to the law, brought to the police. Because that was also my situation. I was like, no, I'll stay quiet and just deal with it. Though I did it many times, ask them to stop. I didn't go and report it, and it still continued, but I thought I was protecting my siblings. I was hoping to be protecting friends in my classroom, and people down the street and stuff. And
But then you told your mom.
Then I told my mom, and she scooped us up, took us to the police, and we all had to be interviewed, and discovered it was more than myself that he had touched, and
My goodness.
that was heartbreaking, I'll be honest, because I was silent to protect, but the protection, I wasn't protecting. It wasn't enough. And that part sucked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because my siblings are important to me as much as my family is, as well as others are. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah.
You brought up the police. That's one of the things I've heard many people say is, I don't want to tell it or bring it to light because then I would have to go report it to the police type situation. And they're afraid of going to the police. Not that they're afraid of the police people, but of the fact of going and talking to a stranger about something so intimate that had happened to them. And they're not used to telling anybody in the first place. And so to be put in that position is just really emotional, scary, and they just want to avoid it.
Yeah, scary is a good word because it's unknown. It's unknown. And it's like you're going before a king. You picture it, you think you're going before the king of an area, and you got to go before him, and guess what happened to me, and you feel like you're meek and you're humble and you're weak, and going before somebody that's just so strong. Like that's how I always saw the police as very strong. But once I went and did it, I found out the police are a whole different ballgame. They are kind and compassionate, and they listen, and their strength is to protect and to realign how things should be. I didn't know that, but I'm so grateful that they came into my life because they were the first ones I told my story to. My mom was just a couple words on a piece of paper, and it was the police that asked me to tell the full story, and they took it down, they recorded it, and I felt like now something's really going to be done. It was like it's like going before a king, but then the king gets behind you and says, I got your back now. Like you got a giant on your side now, instead of feeling like you're the only one and you got to deal with your own strength and your own abilities, and you feel so weak that you're like a little mouse and you can't say something because you're going to get squashed because it feels so big. The truth.
Well, you had a lot riding on it as well. You felt like you had the weight of your family, your siblings on you from being abused as well. And what about the possibility of your parents divorcing over something like that?
Absolutely.
Did that ever come to mind?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I think that was probably why I was probably told, don't tell your mom, this will hurt her. Well, duh. It will, and she might respond and do something as a result. Why wouldn't somebody be angry? Why wouldn't somebody hold you accountable when they have found out, you know, that was a potential? He could have also gotten help, you know, and our family could have been restored. It could have gotten help and sought the Lord, and it could have turned out completely different.
In
But
my case, with one of the abuse situations, I was told, oh, please don't go to the police. It's going to wreck the organization, because it was a person in the organization. And so I was told, don't go to the police. You're going to embarrass the organization. This is going to be in the newspaper. And my thought was, it was already bad enough telling somebody. But then to find out it would be in the newspaper, that would be like, oh, my friends would know. The world would know. This is already bad. I already feel shameful. It was just so heavy and so oppressive. And then for them to tell me, you can't go tell the police, this would be worse. So there's a lot of manipulation that can happen in there. But that's what comes to mind when you mention the police. And there is a lot of people get told, don't go, and or they're encouraged to go, but they don't want to go because they're so afraid, because they don't know the unknown.
correct. And I think you recognized it very well, that it's a manipulation of the way that we're told once we tell how things are going to play out. There's a manipulation from the abusers and those that aren't in the know of this. They're ill advisors and they don't know the truth. And so they will misguide and mislead. So I think we're doing this video because we want folks to know that breaking the silence is good. Good comes from it. Yes, it's hard. It's a hard moment to, well, be the lion in that mouse body, if that makes sense. Be the person that says no more when you've been in chains, you know?
Turn the light on in the room. Yeah.
Yes, it takes a lot of courage to do that. But when you make that step, that courageous step, and it is a bold step, man, you are breaking more than a physical thing that's going on. You're breaking a spiritual, you are breaking generational, you know, from it happening to others. There's so much that's being broken in that moment that we're not aware of. You and I know that it's there because we're on the other side of this, of reporting it. And we're on the other side of what it felt like to be the one walking in silence and feeling like everybody knows and nobody's doing anything about it, or feeling like you should know because you saw this and you still didn't do anything about it. But there are people who will listen. And for me, it was the police officer. And for me, it was my mother. And I began getting help from that point on.
And I think that's huge right there, is that once you told, now all of a sudden you were going to be able to start going and walking towards healing, even though it was excruciating to you. It was the same as you saying, I'm ready to climb on the operating table.
Right? Yeah.
Go ahead and let's get this fixed. So I could live my life full again and be healed. And so that's huge. Just well, we've talked a lot about all the different ways, but we know there's so many more that we haven't even touched on. But hopefully this gives people an idea of why, because for those who haven't been abused, they're sitting there going, I just don't understand. Why didn't they say anything? So hopefully this gives people some idea of that. Thanks for chatting with me today, Renee. I appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
Amen. Bye, everybody.
Bye.